Windsor Castle, December 21st, 2025. A rare and solemn address came from Windsor Castle's green drawing room. King Charles II finally broke his long silence over Prince Harry's shocking return to the United Kingdom. The monarch's statement, carefully worded and delivered in front of a muted Union Jack and the royal coat of arms, was understated, but deliberate. "I have no anger in my heart," Charles said, his voice heavy with sorrow, "only concern for family. I have watched fractures grow. For the institution entrusted to me, now carrying the weight of public grief, speculation and accusation. Let history judge me, not whispers." This unprecedented statement dropped just hours after Harry landed in London, arriving from Los Angeles on a private charter, alone, unannounced, and without Meghan. The shock for the public and royal correspondents alike wasn't just his return, it was his audacious demand: a full audience with the king, legal counsel in tow, and a formal hearing for his grievances. Unlike prior visits, Harry did not request state-level armed security, a demand that had triggered legal tensions with the UK Home Office earlier this year. Instead, a discreet, minimal escort arranged by Princess Catherine transported him from Heathrow to Clarence House. Insiders say this move was Catherine's attempt to maintain dignity and protocol despite the storm that awaited. This wasn't a reconciliation, it was a confrontation. Behind closed doors, Harry presented a detailed list of allegations, many not about general royal operations, but aimed squarely at King Charles and Princess Catherine. He accused them of indifference to his mental health struggles and favouritism that elevated Catherine while undermining Meghan at every turn. Perhaps most explosive was his claim that the monarchy actively weaponised Catherine's image to erase Meghan from public memory, framing her as the uncontested future queen. Sources close to Harry confirm that he reignited a decades-old grievance, the 1995 rumour that Charles had secretly ordered a paternity test after tabloids questioned Princess Diana's personal life due to Harry's red hair. Harry used that memory as the moral basis to reject recent DNA verification requests for his children, Archie and Lily, a protocol quietly supported by Charles and Princess Anne to maintain inheritance rules. "If my father doubted my place in this family," Harry allegedly told Charles in their private meeting, "why should I let him question my children?" What was meant to stay private leaked almost instantly, possibly from Harry's own legal team. It suggested a calculated media offensive, but the most unexpected target wasn't his father. It was Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Multiple aides say Harry accused Catherine of being the benchmark by which Meghan was destroyed. In his words, "Catherine didn't have to lift a finger. Her presence alone made Meghan look like an outsider before she ever opened her mouth." Harry claimed the palace weaponised Catherine's elegance, composure, and media appeal to portray Meghan as impulsive, emotional, and self-serving. He even cited the 2021 bridesmaid dress incident, claiming it marked the point when Meghan realised the monarchy had chosen its queen, and she wasn't it. Royal insiders report that Catherine did not respond, continuing with her public schedule, which included a visit to a children's hospice in Surrey the next morning. A senior aide confirmed, "Her dignity is her statement." Another figure looms over this royal rift, the late Queen Elizabeth II. Critics argue that Harry's allegations risk desecrating her legacy, even though she reportedly offered him unconditional love and support during his 2018 marriage transition. Yet Harry seems undeterred. A leaked WhatsApp message allegedly sent by him read, "The Queen loved me, but even she couldn't protect me from the system she served." Following Charles's statement, a triangular strategy became clear. The king, emotionally wounded but resolute, focused on legal integrity, summoning the Lord Chamberlain and Privy Council for a confidential inquiry into succession law and media liability. Catherine stayed publicly silent, continuing her royal engagements, using visibility as a living contrast to Meghan's Hollywood absence. Prince William, however, is described by sources as furious and personally betrayed. A senior royal courtier told The Guardian, "William sees this not as a son lashing out at his father, but as a man using emotional manipulation to destabilise the monarchy from the outside." William even postponed his year-end speech, reportedly in protest of Harry's ongoing provocations. Complicating matters further is the ongoing threat of the anonymous woman claiming to be the biological mother of Archie and Lily. Harry, who previously dismissed her, now uses her as leverage to demand palace intervention, calling for the monarchy to suppress the story before it airs. Observers interpret this either as a father desperate to protect his children, or a man wielding power to control the narrative, mirroring what he accuses the monarchy of doing for decades. With Christmas approaching and royal preparations underway, the family is split between tradition and turbulence. King Charles's closing line said it all. "My son returns, not as a prodigal. He returns with demands, not remorse. We remain a family, but the crown, is not emotional. It is eternal." As public opinion divides and lawyers circle, the pressing question remains: who is Harry fighting for, and who is he fighting against? In the days after his return, Harry didn't seek privacy. He sought definition. Through closed-door talks and carefully placed briefings, he advanced one consistent narrative: everything that went wrong in his life, and Meghan's traces back to the monarchy itself. He is not a prodigal son or a defiant exile. He is a victim, shaped and scarred by an institution that never chose him. This narrative didn't appear overnight. It was built between 2020 and 2023. Harry and Meghan acted with agency. They left, spoke, signed contracts, and built platforms. Responsibility and credit were theirs. But by late 2025, the calculation shifted. Hollywood hype faded, legal setbacks mounted, public sympathy fractured, and DL's claims introduced an uncontrollable variable. Harry's story pivoted. Agency gave way to coercion, choice became pressure, and silence became survival. Privately, Harry told advisers he never had freedom to act as himself within the royal system, framing King Charles not as a flawed father, but as the architect of constraint. During preparatory meetings, Harry argued that Charles's insistence on protocol, inheritance law, and institutional continuity created a psychological trap from which he could only escape by leaving entirely. Central to Harry's argument is comparison not to his brother, but between Meghan and Catherine. In Harry's telling, Meghan didn't fail to adapt. She was set up to fail. Every action was judged against a living standard no outsider could meet. Catherine, he repeatedly described as the institutional ideal: disciplined, silent, enduring. And Harry insists the palace amplified this contrast deliberately. The more Catherine embodied continuity, the more Meghan appeared disruptive. From Harry's perspective, this was no coincidence. It was narrative engineering. Harry frames the entire royal drama as a system designed to produce a story where Meghan fails and Catherine rises. What he doesn't acknowledge is the factor of timing. Catherine's public approval ratings didn't spike because Meghan arrived. They grew steadily over more than 2 decades of consistent presence. Polling from late 2024 showed Catherine's favourability in the UK at over 72%, driven by her early childhood advocacy and health-focused patronages. By contrast, Meghan's decline aligned with repeated public confrontations, ongoing legal disputes, and commercialised grievances. But Harry refuses that interpretation. In his eyes, Meghan's negative press wasn't reaction, it was retaliation. Perhaps the most explosive pivot in Harry's posture concerns DNA verification. Multiple royal sources confirm that Harry once fully supported routine genetic confirmation for his children, especially after moving to the United States. That stance followed historical precedent and was quietly endorsed by senior advisors. But once DL's claims surfaced, Harry reversed completely. Now he casts any request for verification as abuse, tying it to a childhood grievance over tabloid speculation in the 1990s about his red hair. By reviving this memory, Harry frames King Charles III as the original source of humiliation and distrust. Even though there is no public evidence that a paternity test was ever ordered, the shift is stark. What was once administrative now feels deeply personal. What was once protective now feels like persecution. If Charles represents institutional authority in Harry's narrative, Prince William embodies moral judgment. Sources say William made it clear that while private reconciliation was possible, public attacks on Catherine were off limits, and that boundary hardened relations instantly. William's stance isn't optics, it's precedent. He sees Harry's approach as risky, potentially normalizing a dangerous principle. Personal grievance overriding constitutional order. Privately, William reportedly describes Harry's moves as reckless escalation disguised as vulnerability. The central question dividing observers: is this strategic aggression or emotional unraveling? Evidence points both ways. Coordinated leaks, aligned messaging, selective memory, and legal maneuvering suggest careful planning. Yet those closest to Harry describe a man exhausted, reactive, and resentful of a world no longer bending to his pain. Both interpretations may be true. Harry's victim narrative doesn't absolve him of agency. It redirects blame, casting him and Meghan as casualties of Catherine's rise and Charles's rigidity. He seeks leverage, not reconciliation, turning a family dispute into a constitutional stress test. Meanwhile, a darker, legally explosive figure quietly prepares her entrance. DL, the anonymous woman claiming to be the biological mother of Archie and Lily. Her presence is no longer theoretical. It comes with documents, medical records, financial transactions, and a detailed timeline that contradicts the official royal narrative. Sources close to her legal team confirm she plans a televised public statement in early January 2026, fully vetted and official, not a tabloid leak. DL's claim centres on alleged promises of privacy, compensation, and protection after delivering 2 children via surrogacy for a high-profile couple widely understood to be Harry and Meghan. She alleges that compensation was incomplete and that she was erased from legal and medical documentation, with records sealed under NDAS that she now claims were breached. If these claims withstand legal scrutiny, the monarchy could face a constitutional crisis. Succession rights for Archie and Lily may be challenged. Under British and Commonwealth law, lineage must be legitimate and traceable. If surrogacy disclosure wasn't made, or the mother listed on records is inaccurate, it could invalidate titles or inheritance, or at minimum, freeze them pending verification. Palace insiders confirm that legal containment is now in full effect. This is no longer just a family dispute, it's a potential disruption to the foundation of royal continuity. Princess Anne and the Privy Council have been briefed, and contingency plans, including suspension of titles pending verification, are drafted, but not yet activated. Harry, once supportive of DNA verification for clarity, now frames it as an attempt to dehumanize his children, treating them as artifacts rather than human beings. Critics, including royal insiders, suggest Harry's reversal stems not from protection, but panic. If DL's documents prove credible, they expose not just Meghan, but Harry himself as complicit in a multi-year deception of public and institutional trust. While Harry battles in London, Meghan remains in California, recently seen at a high-profile charity gala in Santa Barbara. She attended alone, styling herself as Duchess of Sussex. Despite Buckingham Palace clarifying in November 2025 that she may no longer represent the royal family officially, the event drew criticism. Actor Kevin Costner publicly accused her of exploiting the royal title, claiming she tried to insert herself into a narrative where she had no rightful place. This dual reality is striking. Harry claiming victimhood in London, while Meghan self-styles as nobility in Hollywood, a painful contradiction for the monarchy and a confusing spectacle for the public. As DL's statement nears, the royal family faces a rare moment demanding full transparency. The question is no longer whether the truth will surface, but who will survive it with credibility intact. As Harry's accusations dominate headlines and whispers of DL's upcoming revelation rattle corridors of power, Prince William, the heir and future monarch, reportedly reached a breaking point. Unlike King Charles's measured sorrow or Catherine's silent composure, William's response was visceral, personal, and immediate. There's a difference between grief and betrayal. William reportedly told aides at a closed Sandringham strategy meeting on December 19th, "Harry has chosen betrayal." Sources say William was the first to push for a full legal review of Harry's claims, not as a family matter, but as a threat to the Crown's reputation. The Prince of Wales is reportedly leading a two-pronged approach, reaffirming the monarchy's constitutional strength and publicly protecting Catherine from character attacks. as Harry blamed her for setting impossible standards while silently overshadowing Meghan. The Princess of Wales did not respond directly, and she didn't need to. Her actions spoke louder than words. On December 20th, just one day after Harry's private demands became public, Catherine appeared at Evelina London Children's Hospital in a deep blue dress with a single white flower brooch, a nod to Queen Elizabeth II's favourite gardenia, symbolising resilience and discretion. She held hands with terminally ill children, comforted nurses, and never addressed the controversy. When asked about the royal family's recent media challenges, she smiled and walked on. "Rising above it all is not silence," a senior royal advisor said. "It's sovereignty." Internally, however, Catherine is far from passive. Sources confirm she is briefed daily on DL's legal risk and Meghan's misuse of royal titles in the US. She is consulting with communications and security advisors, not for retaliation, but containment. Meghan's continued use of the Duchess of Sussex title at high society events is causing friction in London and across diplomatic circles. For example, a December 18th Malibu gala hosted by a global climate foundation listed Meghan as Her Royal Highness despite her formal relinquishment of the title in 2020. The backlash was swift. Sir Nicholas Perry, former UK ambassador to the UN, publicly clarified on BBC World Service that Meghan is no longer HRH, and international institutions should not treat her as such. Even more damaging, Kevin Costner accused her of trying to position herself as a key donor liaison without invitation or contribution, fueling the growing perception of self-styling as royalty in Hollywood. His exact words, "She showed up like she still had a crown." This perception, Meghan clinging to prestige while Harry paints himself as a victim of royal elitism, has sparked what royal analysts are calling a credibility collapse. Following an emergency briefing at Clarence House, Prince William issued a rare, unprecedented internal directive. The Crown would no longer allow false narratives to go unchallenged. This marks a sharp pivot from the royal family's long-standing never complain, never explain approach. While no public statement has been made, multiple countermeasures are already in motion. A compliance review of all titles used by Meghan and Harry in media contracts and events, a discreet press campaign showcasing Catherine's charitable impact while separating her from tabloid chaos, and quiet diplomatic outreach to US and Commonwealth partners to clarify the Sussexes' actual standing within the royal structure. In short, William is reasserting control, not only as a brother betrayed, but as a future king preparing for responsibility. With Harry's return turning into a public referendum on royal truth, the Crown is operating on multiple fronts: public narrative management to retain trust across the UK, Canada, Australia and New Zealand, legal shielding in preparation for DLS media exposure and possible lawsuits, and most critically, family stabilisation, with Queen Camilla, Princess Anne and even Prince Edward reportedly involved in weekly security briefings and legacy planning. The goal is not just protecting the monarchy, it's preventing collapse. As of December 21st, 2025, a new internal group, the Windsor Continuity Committee, led by Lord Hastings and reporting directly to Charles and William, has been activated. Their mission? To ensure no individual, regardless of title or blood, may hold the Crown hostage through falsehoods or manipulation. As Harry intensifies his blame campaign against King Charles and Princess Catherine, the British public and global audience are splitting into factions. While some sympathise with Harry as a wounded son and isolated husband, the majority now see his actions as calculated, destructive, and tragically self-centred. According to a new Ipsos Mori poll conducted on December 21st, 2025, 68% of UK respondents believe Harry is damaging the monarchy's credibility, 21% believe he is courageously speaking truth, and only 11% remain undecided. By contrast, Princess Catherine's approval rating sits at a staggering 89%, while King Charles enjoys 72%, a 12-point jump after his December address. Public solidarity is rallying under a new trending term, Windsor loyalism. From community halls in Birmingham to newsrooms in Sydney, the public isn't just observing Harry's grievances, they're rejecting them loudly. A viral Telegraph op-ed headlined, "Catherine was the last line and he crossed it," racked up over 6 million views within 48 hours. Its opening paragraph reads, "She raised no voice. She made no accusations. She kept the monarchy's dignity alive while Harry burned the bridge behind him, and still he blamed her." The sentiment is echoed across forums, call-in radio shows, and even the Canadian Parliament, where royal loyalty is usually measured and restrained. MP Alan Hawthorne of Ontario stated, "Whatever Harry is going through, turning on Catherine, the only member who embodies public service without scandal, says more about him than her." In Australia, Prime Minister Zoe Mallory, a Republican-leaning centrist, stunned reporters. "I've been critical of the monarchy, but I won't stand by while a woman like Princess Catherine is scapegoated for someone else's collapse on social media." Meanwhile, two hashtags, Stand with Catherine and Arj Where's the Proof, are trending globally as DL confirms her upcoming public appearance. The Stand with Catherine movement, launched by a former palace photographer, has thousands of women sharing stories of unfair blame, jealousy, and dignity misread as weakness. Viral videos juxtapose Meghan's Hollywood galas with Catherine's hospice visits and refugee outreach, spotlighting stark contrasts. Meanwhile, pro-Harry supporters cling to the victimized prince narrative. But fractures are showing. American journalist Lana McTavish tweeted, "I supported Harry until he attacked Catherine. You can't claim moral clarity and then smear a woman who never publicly wronged you." What began as a family rift is now a global diplomatic headache. Buckingham Palace's Foreign Office has received over 24 inquiries from international embassies and media outlets about Meghan's unauthorised royal title use, the status of Archie and Lilette in succession, and the pending DL interview. In a December 20th press release, Buckingham Palace reminded, "All members of the royal family are expected to conduct themselves according to their standing and responsibilities. Deviations will be addressed appropriately." The message, though subtle, signals that continued title misuse could trigger legal or symbolic action. Behind palace gates, insiders reveal William and Charles are preparing a permanent freeze on all Sussex-related appearances, though no official documents have been released. Speculation mounts. Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles may be formally suspended, and Archie and Lily's inheritance and HRH rights may be held in abeyance pending documentation. Any further association with royal charities could be blocked. This isn't mere discipline, it's survival. The monarchy, now led by Charles and increasingly influenced by William, is entering a wartime posture, not for combat, but constitutional defence. One courtier put it bluntly, "The Queen gave love, Charles gave space, Catherine gave silence, and still Harry demands war. The institution will outlast him." As Christmas approaches and Windsor, Kensington, and Clarence House prepare for solemn ceremonies, a storm rages beyond the gates. DL, claiming to be the biological mother of Harry and Meghan's children, is no longer a rumour. She will speak publicly on January 3rd, 2026, in a live, long-form broadcast aired simultaneously across UK and US networks. Hosted by journalist Elena Russo in Geneva, the interview promises clarity and evidence. DL's team now includes a former European Court of Human Rights ethics advisor and 2 senior medical documentation experts. They claim to hold signed NDAs, financial agreements with Sussex-linked trusts, fertility clinic records listing DL as the genetic mother, internal email exchanges, compensation negotiations allegedly breached by the Sussex team, and medical billing tied to Colorado-based deliveries. In response, the monarchy has entered an evidentiary lockdown. On December 22nd, King Charles convened an emergency Privy Council session with Princess Anne, Prince William, 2 legal lords, and senior government liaisons. The classified directive, codenamed Resolution Regina, outlines immediate audit of all post-2019 succession documents, contingency legal framework to suspend HRH privileges for minors if parentage is inconclusive, formal restriction of title usage abroad enforced via the Foreign Office and Commonwealth embassies, review of inheritance clauses within Sandringham, Balmoral and Windsor family trusts relating to legitimacy. Legal advisers confirmed this is no longer a family matter, Its constitutional liability. Any authenticated evidence from DL requires parliamentary scrutiny. As the DL interview approaches, Harry's mental and emotional state has deteriorated. Once pressing Meghan to disclose surrogacy details, he now lashes out at the Crown while trying to shield his wife from scandal. On December 20th, hours after Kevin Costner's allegations against Meghan, Harry confronted William and Charles, demanding an official condemnation of DL, a legal block on the interview, and a UK press strategy labelling her an opportunist. None were met. Charles reportedly told Harry, "The monarchy does not destroy women to protect itself, nor does it falsify documents to soothe the son's shame." Harry left Clarence House in silence, unseen publicly since. Rumours suggest he is isolated at a secure Norfolk estate under private security. Meanwhile, Meghan has cancelled 3 public engagements, citing holiday privacy, while her legal team prepares a coordinated rebuttal. Depending on DL's revelations, Meghan's brand, credibility, and maternal image face global scrutiny. Netflix has suspended pre-production on the Sussex 2026 documentary series, and Spotify confirmed her next podcast season is on indefinite hold. Despite the chaos, the monarchy is not crumbling. It is becoming agile, decisive, and transparent. Queen Camilla has taken a back seat, while Princess Anne has emerged as the stabiliser, overseeing communications, audits, and internal morale. Catherine continues public charity work, including the Home is More Than Walls campaign, supporting children in temporary housing across the UK. She offers no comment on Harry's accusations, her silence amplifying public respect. William is preparing a national address for January 7th, 5 days after DL's interview, which insiders say will reaffirm the monarchy's commitment to truth and duty. Royal protocols for 2026 will be outlined, defining what it means to be a Windsor in the face of betrayal. The curtain closes not on a family dispute, but a battle for narrative legitimacy. Prince Harry, once the bold younger son, now stands alone, broken by the very truths he tried to hide. Meghan, once the media darling, faces scrutiny not for her race or independence, but for her relationship with the truth and the crown. Ancient and slow-moving, the monarchy now demonstrates something unexpected, the ability to adapt under siege without collapsing. One insider summed it up best. They wanted to burn the monarchy down, but they didn't count on Catherine, on Anne, or on a king willing to let history speak for itself. The monarchy does not fear scandal. It fears silence in the face of lies, and this time it is chosen to speak, not in interviews, but in action. If you found this breakdown shocking and revealing, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment below with your thoughts on who's really in the right and how the monarchy will survive this storm.